So today, for our deep dive, we are looking at a visual concept that is, it's simple enough for a child to draw.
Right.
But at the same time, it's complex enough to actually stump mathematicians.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about the image that eats itself, that self-referential loop that you see everywhere.
The Droste effect.
The Droste effect. It's this recursion that just, it pops up when a picture realistically appears inside its own composition. And its history. I mean, it touches everything from medieval art to M.C. Escher and, believe it or not, a 100-year-old box of cocoa powder.
It's one of those beautiful intellectual concepts that really proves the universality of structure, you know? In the art world, we'd call this phenomenon mise en abîme, placing the image within the abyss. It's the effect of a picture appearing recursively within itself, right at a point where contextually you would expect to see it.
And that contextual expectation is key, right? It's not just like a random nesting doll of images. It's a loop. It's designed to imply infinity.
Exactly. The idea is that it should go on forever.
A pure mathematical concept.
Precisely. It creates a theoretical infinite regress. But the physical reality is that we can only follow that loop as far as the resolution of the image will let us. The moment you start shrinking an image, you hit a technological limit on the whole concept of infinity.
So that tension between the infinite potential and the finite resolution, that's really the heart of it.
It is.
So our mission today is to unpack how a Dutch ad from 1904 managed to give its name to this ancient idea. And we'll trace it all the way from, say, 14th century Italian masters to, modern psychedelic album covers.
Oh.
Okay, let's start with the name Droste effect. It sounds like some complicated German geometric theorem.
It does, but it's not. It's actually named after Droste, a Dutch brand of cocoa powder.
It's almost absurd that this huge universal principle is tied to a box of cocoa.
It really says a lot about the power of commercial imagery, doesn't it? The specific image was designed by Jan Messet back in 1904. And it became the brand's trademark. The composition is super specific and, highly recognizable.
Right. It depicts a nurse, which I guess was common marketing for products like cocoa then.
Yeah, they were often sold as a tonic or medicinal food.
And she's carrying a tray with a cup of hot chocolate on it. And this is the crucial part. Right next to the cup is a box of Droste cocoa powder.
A box that features her exact image.
It's the ultimate branded feedback loop.
And it gets even deeper because even Messet's inspiration shows this layered history. You can totally see he was influenced by Jean-Étienne Lyotard's famous 18th century painting, La Serveuse de Chocolat.
Also known as La Belle Chocolatière.
That's the one. So the ad that named the effect was itself a recursive nod to an even earlier depiction of serving chocolate.
What's wild to me is that the name Droste effect took 70 years to actually stick. It wasn't an immediate thing.
No, not at all. It only got popular in the late 1970s.
What?
Well, it was thanks to a Dutch poet and columnist, Nico Scheepmaker. He just started using it as a handy term to describe recursion in, everyday situations.
So it took a journalist to give the concept a catchy name.
Exactly. A label that let it escape the purely academic world of mise en abîme and enter, common language. That's when the idea really took off, when it finally had a simple name.
All right, let's move past the cocoa tin and dig into the core mathematics and the true age of this idea, because this is fundamentally about recursion.
Absolutely. The Droste effect is just geometric recursion made visible. Each image is a smaller, sometimes rotated version of the parent image, positioned exactly where you'd expect the next one to be.
And the theory is brilliant. I mean, it implies the image just continues forever, a lot like how you generate a mathematical fractal.
Yes, but the physical reality is what makes the Droste effect an aesthetic concept, not just a mathematical one.
How so?
Well, with a perfect fractal, you could theoretically zoom in forever and always find new detail. But with a printed Droste image, each step geometrically reduces the size and the detail just shrinks away.
Past the point of being able to see it.
Exactly. Past the print resolution, past human visibility. The loop has a hard, practical stop sign.
Which brings up a really interesting question. How much did people understand this before we had the math for it?
Yeah.
Because this idea of self-reference, it's ancient.
Oh, centuries old. You can see the effect anticipated way back in the 14th century by the Italian master Giotto.
So long before the printing press, Giotto was playing with this recursive idea.
He was.
His Stefaneschi Triptych is the classic example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it carries this incredible symbolic weight. The central panel shows Cardinal Stefaneschi.
Kneeling, and he's offering something to St. Peter.
And what he's offering is the triptych itself.
Right. And this wasn't just a clever visual trick. It was a profound religious statement. A political one, too.
Oh, so?
By showing the donor offering the work, Giotto creates this loop of devotion and ownership that is meant to be eternal. The act of giving is contained within the gift.
It signifies that the offering is complete and perpetual.
It does. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If they didn't have the explicit geometry, were they just using this idea of infinite regress intuitively for its symbolic power?
I mean, they had to be.
They absolutely were. You can see it in other medieval examples. Think about old manuscripts where an illustration includes an image of the book itself.
Or stained glass windows depicting miniature copies of the window.
Exactly. They understood that this recursive structure gave the object authority, eternity, self-validation. It took the object from being a mere representation to being something that contained its own identity.
Okay, so if the medieval masters used this for symbolic power, then in the 20th century, the Dutch graphic artist M.C. Escher, he took that geometry and just turned it into a mind-bending puzzle. We have to talk about his 1956 lithograph print gallery.
Escher, yes. He perfectly synthesized the historical and the mathematical sides of the Droste effect. Print gallery shows a man in a gallery looking at a print.
And that print features the very gallery he's standing in.
It's self-reference at its purest.
But Escher's twist is what makes it so critical. He didn't just shrink the image, he added a transformation.
Yeah.
It's a rotation, right? Spiraling it inward.
Precisely. The scaling factor is applied, but so is a slight rotation with each step. And this gives it a much more dynamic, sort of vortex-like quality.
And crucially, unlike the cocoa tin, where the image just blurs into nothing, Escher's original print left a blank space in the middle, a void.
A very notable, mathematically precise central void, right where the infinity loop should have closed.
And that emptiness, that's what caught the eye of the scientific community, wasn't it?
It really was. That void seemed to challenge the whole visual concept of infinite regress.
So they got obsessed with it.
They did. Mathematicians, like Hendrik Lenstra, they became obsessed with finding the mathematical transformation needed to complete the image, to fill the void.
So they studied the specific geometry, the shrinking, the rotation, and they actually figured out a way to mathematically fill in that blank spot.
Yes. They basically applied the Droste effect again, but using the exact mathematical parameters they derived from Escher's work.
To generate the missing piece and, theoretically, close the loop.
Exactly. They solved an artistic problem with algebraic geometry. It's the ultimate link between high art and high science, proving that this simple recursive trick is rooted in these deep mathematical principles of self-similarity and scaling. The void was a challenge, and mathematics provided the answer.
Okay, let's pivot back to the more mundane world of advertising.
Yeah.
Because while the concept can be super complex, its commercial use is just brilliantly simple and effective.
Well, the Droste effect is, at its core, a perfect branding tool.
Why is that?
Because it infinitely reinforces the product's identity right in that moment you're looking at it. It basically guarantees recognition and communicates perpetuity.
Yeah, when you look at classic packaging, it's so direct. Land O'Lakes butter, with the woman holding the package that shows herself holding the package.
Or royal baking powder, way back in the day.
And my personal favorite, just for how subtle it is the Laughing Cow cheese spread logo.
Oh, that's a great one. The cow wears earrings. But if you look closely at the earrings...
They're actually tiny images of the round cheese package.
And those packages have the mascot on them. It's this hidden circular chain of reference. It's recursion disguised as jewelry.
That is such a brilliant little bit of product embedding. And of course, this idea of recursive composition quickly jumped into pop culture.
You can see the Escher influence so clearly in popular media. I mean, think about the cover of Pink Floyd's 1969 album Ummagumma.
Oh, yeah. It shows the band, and on the wall behind them is a picture of the exact same scene.
But the order of the band members is rotated. It's that Escher-style spiraling transformation.
Which gives it that slightly disorienting psychedelic feel, like an endless loop or alternate realities. We even see it in literature, like Russell Hoban's children's novel, The Mouse and His Child.
With the can of Bonzo dog food.
Exactly.
And in comic books, it actually has its own industry term. They call it the infinity cover.
Right, and these were super popular during the golden age of comics in the 1940s. It was just a high-impact way to signal excitement and limitless scope.
The sources say Little Giant Comics #1 from July 1938 might be the first published example of an infinity cover.
And you see it on huge icons later, like Batman #8 in the early 40s, or even much later on commemorative issues like Action Comics #500. It's a guaranteed visual hook.
It's the visual language for limitless storytelling potential, which is exactly what a comic book wants to promise you, the reader. It's a promise of infinity, all contained within a single frame.
It's really remarkable when you think about it. We started with Giotto using this structure to symbolize eternal spiritual ownership.
And we followed it right through to Land O'Lakes, using it to symbolize eternal brand loyalty.
The simplicity of the structure just lets it adapt to these wildly different contexts.
What's really fascinating here is how the Droste effect makes us recognize this deep human fascination with self-similarity.
Right.
I mean, whether we call it fractal geometry or matryoshka dolls or the fancy art term mise-en-abyme, we are just. We're inherently drawn to systems that are self-contained and self-validating.
It's like seeing a boundaryless system hit a physical wall.
It is. And the fact that we use a common name Droste effect rather than the technically correct one, it just emphasizes how accessible and recognizable this whole concept is.
It took one good advertisement to brand an entire intellectual phenomenon.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Droste effect forces you to confront the idea of infinite regress in systems that go way beyond images. Think about narratives in business or storytelling or even philosophy.
Like circular reasoning?
Circular reasoning, or a business model that promises efficiency by constantly optimizing itself based on its own metrics. These all use the same self-referential loop where the description of the thing actually contains the thing itself.
Which brings up that same core question that the Escher print posed. What's the real-world resolution limit on those conceptual infinite loops?
Exactly. How many times can a recursive loop of action or logic or thought be processed before the whole system or the whole narrative just runs out of resolution, becomes conceptually blurred, and completely breaks down?
So the takeaway for you is?
When you encounter a system that is recursively defined, look for its structural void. What's the limit of visibility? What piece of the puzzle has to remain blank before the whole thing collapses? That's something to mull over the next time you see an image that dares to reflect itself.